friend of mine, Jordan Wagner, at the time was living with a guy named Jason Kennedy. And he started a Bible study at his home with Judah Smith. And they were so kind and invited me to the Bible study. And Jason Kennedy at the time was a host for E! News, and Tanya was working in the same building for Ryan Seacrest. And she had gone through a breakup and she was crying. And Jason saw her in the hallway and he said, "Why don't you come to this Bible study at my home this week?" So she came to Bible study. Her and I hit it off instantly, and we've been friends ever since and have just been such a great support to each other over the years. And so when it came time to write this book, we both thought, it couldn't be a better partnership, especially with the journey that we've done together.
What is the Sunshine Mind? How do you define it? What is it?
Yeah, so I always say the Sunshine Mind, the Sunshine Mindset, it's not a quick fix or a formula, but rather it's the way you go about your day-to-day life. So for example, it's choosing to forgive instead of retaliating. It's choosing to take disappointments as lessons learned. It's choosing to take the high road. So it's a daily mindset. And the more we practice those things, which take the inner work, the more that we truly live a life of freedom. So I'll go back to when I moved to LA. It's a very difficult city to get integrated into. And to be honest, for the first 2 years, I had a hard time meeting people. You make plans with people, they don't show up, they cancel. And it had me really kind of go inward and spend a lot of time in prayer and just asking God, like, God, if this is where you want me to be, I pray that I would make the best friends I've made in my life, that you would make it so clear. I would go on walks on the beach and here in California. So I would go on walks on the beach. I would listen to my worship music. And I really, really, really would pray for clarity. And I think that through doing that, it helped me develop the inner strength to be able to handle that rejection, right, of someone not showing up to a dinner or not being able to make friends. And then as I stuck it out and time went on, it just became abundantly clear that this was the place that I was meant to be. And so there are always, I mean, I think going through hard times, I always say, I don't think we're taught enough when we're younger that yes, life is great and amazing, but it's also really hard. And what I found is that prioritizing our inner life is the number one priority, because that when that's strong, when the good times happen, it humbles you and fills you with gratitude. But when the bad times happen, the spirit is what sustains you. And so we have to be prioritizing that. And kind of when you have Jesus as your anchor, it's just, you're able to go through anything. You really are. And I know that I'm not saying that in a way where it lacks empathy for hard times. I've been there, but it's the truth.
What's that like in Hollywood? What's that like in LA? What's it like, in middle America here, we tend to think of, well, that's like when you went out there, that's like this godless place, but it seems like there's a hunger there.
Oh, there's such a hunger. I mean, I think I found people to be so open to the things of God out here. And I think part of that is you have a lot of creatives. So I think people are open to hearing about things, but also, Tom, I think a huge part of it is the state of our world today, right? There's so much unrest. There's so much anxiety. You turn on the news, it just feels like one bad thing after another. Well, the flip side of that is people are open to God because they're desperate, right? They're desperate for peace. They're desperate for the spirit. And so I think we're in a very exciting, amazing time. And LA is the heart of entertainment, of culture that people look to all around the world. And I think that there's a real sort of revival happening. So something that I learned the last 10 years, specifically working alongside a lot of people in the entertainment industry that have achieved the height of success, is that there's a huge lack of peace. So a lot of times people get into the industry because they love music, they love film, and then they make it, and then life becomes all about them. And it's not even necessarily their fault. It's just the nature of the business. And they can't figure out why they're so unhappy. Well, they're so unhappy because life was meant to be about service, right? And when we can get outside of ourselves and when we can start serving. So it's like, if you are in film, using that film to help others, to bring a powerful message, or whatever you do in your day-to-day life, living a life of service is the only way to live a happy life. And so we felt it was very important to touch on that topic, because if you're not, nothing will ever be fulfilling.
Yeah, living a life of service is so important. The other thing I really like that you talk about praying big. Can you talk about the strategy that you use every day when it comes to prayer?
Yeah, I love big prayers because I think we serve a God that is big, right? So for me, what that looks like is I'm not super regimented. Tanya's a lot more routine than I am. But I all throughout the day, if I'm in my car, I'm going to meetings, I'm running errands, there is always worship music on in the car. I am constantly in prayer, even if it's just I'm walking into something, kind of saying under my breath, like, God, help this meeting be a success. Help me, have a connection with this person, if it's meant to be. So I see prayer and praying big as a continual sort of 24/7 conversation with God.
That's so beautiful. And I also like too that you say you pray for like 5 people a day. That was a challenge that you said for the Sunshine Mind. And so just encouraging our viewers, pray for 5 people a day on your prayer list. And Raquelle, can you just take a moment and speak to somebody who's watching out there that they're hearing your words and that what you're speaking, and they may be in a down place, a lot of anxiety or fear and stress. Can you just take a moment to speak to the heart of that person today that needs their hope tank just filled up just a little bit today?
So I just want to say, first of all, to that's when God shows up most. So when I look back on my darkest, worst of moments, that is when I felt the presence of God in the strongest way. And He is the ultimate comforter, the ultimate healer. And He sees you and loves you exactly where you're at. So I just encourage you today to surrender it all to Him, ask for peace, ask for comfort, and watch how you're met in that moment. And I promise you that you'll look back on this time and remember it as a time of comfort and a time that you really, really knew the presence of God in a more intimate way. So if you're living in clutter, you're living in a mess, how are you going to go out and feel, free and feel organized? And so I actually use, Tanya and I are opposite. I used to be really messy. She's always been really clean, really organized. But as life has grown, as life's gotten busier, I can't be messy and living in clutter anymore, or I start to feel cluttered as a person. So it's like, if my stuff's cluttered, I'm going to feel cluttered. So we got to get rid of the clutter, to allow space for the new, or even to just feel sane and normal.